agenda, and the next item on the agenda is a panel discussion on the future of voice technology. We are presenting a regional and a global perspective, and we have a number of eminent speakers to take this discussion forward. So I'd like to introduce our speakers to all of you, starting with Dr. Fatmah Baothman, who is the founder and board president of the AI Society and assistant professor from the King Abdul-Aziz University. Incidentally, Dr. Baothman is also the first woman in the Middle East to earn a PhD in artificial intelligence. We also have this panel discussion will be moderated by Mr. Mukul Devichand, who is the founder of the Mr. Mukul Devichand, who is the executive editor of Voice from the BBC. And I'd also like to introduce our third panelist on this presentation, who is Romina. Romina Pankoke, who is the board member and the director of chapters at the Women in Voice in Germany. So just to recap, Romina Pankoke from the Women in Voice in Germany, Dr. Fatmah Baothman, and the discussion to be moderated by Mr. Mukul Devichand, who's from the BBC. We will begin in about 5 minutes' time. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. As promised, now we will continue our panel discussion on the future of voice technology, a global and regional perspective. And I'd like to introduce our speakers, starting with Dr. Fatmah Baothman, who is the founder and board president of AI from the King Abdul-Aziz University. I'd also like to introduce Romina Pankoke, who is the board member and director of chapter at the Women in Voice in Germany. And of course, this discussion will be moderated by Mr. Mukul Devchand, who is the executive editor from the BBC, who was with us last time as well for the Voice Tech India Summit. So, gentlemen and ladies, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Well, I must say I'm very pleased to be here. I'm coming to you from London, and I feel honoured to be in the company of the panelists who are with me. So I'll briefly introduce myself again. I'm Mukul Devichand. I'm in charge of at the BBC. We've been leaning heavily into voice and AI technology. We set up a number of initiatives, including publishing on third-party platforms, but also creation of our own in-house voice assistant, Beeb, which is in beta. So for us, voice and AI is certainly something that we see already beginning to create real change in our industry in broadcasting, as many, many more people in the UK and around the world own a smart speaker, and that has huge implications for us. I'm joined by Romina Pankoke and Dr. Fatmah Baothman. I feel like you guys should introduce yourselves a little bit and give everyone a flavour of what you've done. But I will say that both of you are really sort of top people globally in this industry, I think. And I feel like we've all sort of formed a new industry in it quite recently, and then we've also lived through a pandemic together. So in this kind of strange world, it's great to be joined by both of you, because you're both giants of the field. So Romina, why don't you start off, give a flavour of your background?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for the introduction and for having me. I'm very excited to be here. It's 7:30 in the morning here in Germany, which is where I'm based at. Excited to be here and to learn more, especially about the voice technology field in Middle East, right? And a little bit about myself. I'm a voice user experience designer at Vixen Labs, which is a voice consultancy and voice design studio based in London. So we mainly have clients from UK and the US, and of course, me being based in Germany, I have a sincere interest in the German voice market, of course, as well. And yeah, I'm an active member of Women in Voice. I'm the director of chapters on a global level, which means we have like chapters in several countries. We are almost 20 chapters by now. And I'm also a founder of the German Women in Voice chapter.
Great. And Vixen Labs and the work that you do has certainly been noticed as a rising star of the industry. And Dr. Baothman, Fatmah Baothman, can you also, I mean, I'm going to give away a spoiler alert because Dr. Baothman is actually, and I don't know if she'll be too modest to say it, so I'm going to say it first before she starts. She's the first woman to hold a PhD in modern AI in all of the Middle East, as well as being, named on various lists, including 100 women in AI and ethics. So I'm very pleased to have you. And Dr. Baothman, can you introduce yourself and how you got into this field?
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be with you today. Of course, I have started my PhD at the University of Huddersfield. I graduated in 2003 from the School of Computing and Engineering, and that was my first journey toward AI. I'm a faculty member at King Abdul-Aziz University and the founder of Artificial Intelligence Society and the board president of the society. Of course, the society has been established 1 year ago, but we have lots of volunteers and everybody is really enthusiastic to be among the society, and we are expanding ourselves in various activities. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with what in some ways might be seen as the awkward question, right? Which is, we're at these, we come to these conferences, right? And we often evangelize voice, right? And it's easy to evangelize voice because of, adoption rates and serious improvements in the technology. However, the underlying technology here, the sort of AI part is automatic speech recognition and natural language understanding, right? So, that machines can understand human language. And I think one question I want to start with is, can they actually, right? Like, because whenever I start getting kind of breathlessly excited about voice, people say to me, well, actually it's not, I've got Alexa, it's not that good, right? So I want to start off with your take on where we are technologically with voice. And I'm going to go to you, Fatmah Baothman, first. Where are we? I mean, how in that, and I think one thing I'd be interested to understand is different languages as well, and different accents. You might have seen the viral, when we created the BBC voice assistant, we placed a real emphasis on British accents, the way English is spoken around this country, quite diverse. You might have seen the viral kind of video of the guy who gets into a lift in Scotland and tries to speak in a Scottish accent to the yes. US Alexa. So where are we at, Dr. Baothman? How has voice technology evolved? Are we beyond automatic speech recognition? Are we at a cognitive service yet?
Okay. Simply, I believe that the future is voice technology. It supports intelligent IoT devices, IR4, financial services, biometric authentication, smart robots, and cognitive environments, which are going to appear with intelligent cities. To understand how the technology evolved over the years, we also need to realize so many things about it and how it started. We have interacted with computers using punch card, keyboard, a mouse, and touch screen in the past. Voice assistants offer more natural, efficient interaction for humans to talk with machines, cars nowadays, mobile phones, etc. The voice technology started along with the development of automatic speech recognition in the 20th century as a cognitive discipline of its own. Its root is highly multidisciplinary, drawn from linguistic, acoustic, digital signal engineering, psychology, artificial intelligence, computer science, human-computer interaction, mathematics, and statistics of pattern recognition. In research, automatic speech recognition directed toward accuracy of single speakers, small databases moved into continuous ASR system with larger lexicon. Of course, everything was based on symbolic AI. The use of corpus frequency and acoustic pattern recognition helped in developing the language models, and there was the start exactly. In 2000, statistical learning approach, such as hidden Markov modeling, artificial neural network, knowledge-based technique, and agent technology, which really made the biggest improvement in speech recognition and capabilities, that made it closer to humans, such as starting the dictation software, which aided in the development of recognition technology. And from there, nowadays, of course, most people are using Siri, Google Assistant. AI continuously grow toward using the technology and becomes the primary way for us to interact with computers.
So, Dr. Baothman, I'm going to interrupt you slightly and maybe ask a slightly provocative question. I agree. I am also stunned by the progress of this technology, and I think we all feel that voice could become, and is already showing signs of becoming, a new primary interface for human-machine interaction. But if I can just quickly quote the investor Benedict Evans, who basically said, yes, it understands the language, but what it can actually do with that is just put it into dialogue boxes. Right now, there's no, yes, it can infer basic intention from simple statements, but, I guess his implication is it's not quite like you can sit down and have a conversation with a machine yet. It's more like you can say a command instead of typing it. Do you feel like we're actually past that and into a more natural, at that, are we there yet? And I'm going to quickly ask you to respond to that and then go over to Romina Pankoke for your thoughts on the same.
Well, I think we're not 100% there because there are huge complexity in speech recognition, which requires more research, and the old system that is being used in technology remains because we need to get rid of rule-based system completely. But however, there is huge improvement nowadays based on statistical modeling, and AI modeling. And myself, I have implemented for Arabic subsegmental representation. This subsegmental representation, it is based on knowledge, and it represents, for example, the 28 segment that is used in Arabic only with 7 segments. And honestly speaking, it made huge improvement in the system. Additionally, I have implemented in my work agent technology representation, which was implemented with robotic communication as well as human communication, and the system was able to deal with even non-Arabic speakers, and it was functioning great. So the progress that is being made is really fantastic, but we need to get rid from sticking to old models and obsolete techniques.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Romina, let me come to you. How good is it? Is it good enough yet? Are we at the fourth internet, or is it still on the way?
I would say we are definitely still on the way. I loved how you introduced this question by saying we are evangelizing voice, and I would definitely agree. I mean, I'm also all convinced about voice technology, of course, otherwise I wouldn't spend my entire time with it, right? But I do believe, yes, we have made a lot of progress, and it's already a very great status, but yeah, that video of the elevator is just the perfect example, right? So I do feel like, yes, we have high ambitions, but we also have a very big benchmark because we are comparing it to, it is like we are talking about human language, and that's also the expectation that users might have, right? And I know for myself, like you usually would start with like, yeah, how great would it be if the user can just say if the users can say what they want and we take them to the right answer, right? But I mean, currently we still often go back to, yeah, but wouldn't it be better to make sure the user actually gets to the goal, like achieves the goal as fast as possible? So then you kind of end up going like in a more guided conversational pattern, right? Because you really want to make sure users don't get frustrated by using any kind of like smart speaker, for example. So I think we've made so much progress, and it's an amazing technology. But in terms of the question, are we there yet? I would say there's still some way to go. And currently it is, as it is, you are still kind of limited by some technical situations, by some technical requirements, and you end up kind of wanting to make sure the users get where they want, and that often leads to a more guided conversation rather than just being like all natural. Like you said, we're not having a natural conversation with our smart speaker yet.
Quite. So that's really interesting. But let me move on to the second topic, because in a way, it doesn't really matter, does it? It doesn't really matter for us as an industry, an emerging voice industry, if you're not able to actually sort of, chill and talk to Alexa and have a kind of a real human conversation. What matters is what is the size of the market for what we could actually offer now. Like, how much right now is there to offer customers, to offer people, to monetize, what sort of services? Let me give you a flavor at the BBC of the kind of conversations we have. So I think we've seen statistics that say that about 1/3 of UK adults now claim ownership of a smart speaker, which is a very big customer base for a primarily voice-mediated device. I think we see that device class and other voice-mediated devices in the kind of media space are clearly growing. And so on the one hand, there's a tolerance for voice, or a kind of an ability to use voice. There is a route to market for a voice experience. At the same time, the debate will be, how rich should that experience be? So, for example, we launched what I think was the world's first interactive news service on voice about a year ago now. And that allows some simple interaction, right? We have tried out things that involve more complex interaction. So we launched something called the Corona Bot, which allowed you to actually ask questions about coronavirus and, in a sort of a more open-ended way. But the news service is quite simple. You just skip through stories and ask for more on other stories. But even then, there are some people who say, listen, it's only really about sort of asking for the news and getting played a piece of sound. You don't need to make it interactive. So in that context, can we focus on, for those listening today, how big we think the market is, both globally and regionally in the Middle East region, for voice services? Are companies investing heavily into it? What sorts of companies are investing in it? I obviously come from the media space, but beyond the media space, what is the size of the market for this technology right now? And let's go back to you, Dr. Baothman, and if you could give us both a Middle East and a global perspective.
The global perspective is really easy and easier because now the AI is expected to generate about 15.7 trillion, creating different opportunities in the world economy. And we're all looking toward this. Now, this growth in the world economy is going to make huge changes in between countries even. According to IDTech's research, they estimated that the market for smart speech only, voice-based technology would reach 15.5 billion by 2029. Now, the UK research company revealed that there are about 2.5 billion voice assistants already available in the market globally. And honestly speaking, I'm not sure about this number of global market voice assistant. In the Middle East here, I think we are still at an early stage, and the voice technology has not been implemented heavily in different services. But I believe by 2030, there will be more investment toward this, and I think there will be more researches. This is not only because the market is not accepting is not ready to such technology, but because of the nature also for Arabic technology is really complicated than any other languages.
Well, actually, I wanted to ask you about that because although I live in London, I previously lived in the Middle East, and you could say I was a student of Arabic. So I want to ask from that point of view. I mean, you've got Fusha, classical Arabic. You've got, in some ways, you've got several Amiyas or kind of spoken Arabics, but actually thousands of them, right, in terms of dialects. Where is the technology right now in terms of, are people having to almost put on their best Fusha voice to speak to the assistant, or is it able to really understand colloquial language?
Well, for the time being, people are using Alexa and other voice assistant, for example, to adapt it to Arabic. However, Arabic language has its own difficulties because Arabic has more segmental contracts than most languages. There was no phonological base established for the different dialects, and all previous sound pattern studies focused either on classical Arabic or minority dialects. The available ASR products and voice, they have low accuracy rate. So subsegmental representation has not been implemented commercially yet until now. And there are more work that has to be done in this direction. So the technology is being now used, but it needs more improvement, as mentioned before. And I imagine that there will be more also research to be carried out in this area. However, I should be fair that in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, there are so many groups who are really interested in developing the Arabic language technology. Also, King Abdul-Aziz for Science and Technology, they have it, and I have participated with them in one of the strategic session. And almost every 5 years, they put special attention to Arabic recognition and Arabic implementation with technology. But the complexity in the language itself and sticking to the old way of implementing the or using the language and dealing with the language. I think this is a problem globally, not only for Arabic language. But the nature of the Arabic language, of course, adds complexity to the situation. There are other difficulties, for example, and I'm sure you know about this, selecting a suitable speech unit, for example. There is morpheme, allophones, for example, diaphones, triphones, word. I mean, there are so many things. And of course, the acquiring the knowledge from different disciplines and building the AI model makes it really complex unless you start at early stage and understand how to make the proper connection.
Yes. Yes. And Dr. Baothman, I mean, this is a subject that I could literally talk about for the rest of the session and the day. In terms of what interests me also is the sort of quality of training data that's available in the Arabic language, and how to train systems when there are so many Arabics, in fact. But let me just quickly seg away from that topic for a minute, and come to you, Romina, to ask that same question about the size of the market, because I think your perspective will be, you know, I think, you know, Vixen, for example, sort of was a startup only about a couple of years ago, and it's sort of grown a lot, and it feels like there's quite a vibrant industry out there. There's actually quite a few people sort of, are they making money yet? You know, out of sort of voice design, cognitive services, you know, so from your perspective, how big of a professional market is there for people to work in this technology, and for other organizations to seek voice capability?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely at VixNet we for sure see such a rise in interest and so many companies reaching out and going, yeah, we know we need to do something. We don't know for sure where it's going to lead us yet and what we should do, but we have understood, or we see that we should invest in it and try things out. How can you help us do so? And of course, our clients are mainly UK or US based, which is, I would say, like, or are those markets that are kind of likely to move forward with voice, for example, more than Germany. Of course, we have that market here too, but we are a little bit more hesitant, I guess I could say. But yeah, we definitely see this growing in terms of the clients that reach out to us, but also the team we have at Vixen Lab that is growing at fast speed. So, but also, for example, in the Women in Voice community, where we see people reaching out looking for professionals, so trying to hire people who are already experienced with voice. So definitely a big rise in interest, and but many are starting just yet, right? Like, of course, we have a lot of skills in the Alexa market, definitely, right? But still, many companies are still kind of at the starting point. And for example, if you move over to Germany, I just recently had some conversations with people in the B2B industry, which is kind of like an important backbone for Germany. We have a lot of industrial companies, and they are just now starting to think about it. But of course, that cannot be seen. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's companies who already invest in it, but many are like, yes, we have heard voice is getting important, and we need to understand what it is and what it can do, so that we can decide if this is even relevant for us. So there's definitely different stages of implementing or diving into voice, but certainly you can see, especially through the pandemic, which has given more attention to the entire topic of touchless devices, touchless operation of anything, that it has definitely given a boost to this whole technology industry.
You know, I love that one, because that was my next question, actually. We managed to get so far in the session without mentioning the pandemic, but I felt like that is actually something that we should kind of cover, really. Like, do you feel that, because, you know, you could see it two ways, right? You could see it as money gets tighter in the world economy, there's less room to play in a technology which some are more skeptical about. Equally, you know, in some ways this technology lends itself to the era that we're living in. It's a contactless technology. So, you know, what is your take on that? How do you think that the sort of the voice revolution has it had a good crisis?
You want me to answer this one?
Yeah, sure.
I would definitely. Well, yeah, I agree. It has many angles you could look at this from. but for sure, through the whole like increasing usage of voice technology by the users, you have mentioned some statistics from the UK already, that has shown, okay, if the users like dive into it more, companies tend to follow, kind of going, yes, I want to be where my clients or customers are. So that's one angle. And it's certainly different in different industries, but generally the idea of offering touch-free services should probably have been there before, right? Because now it feels like kind of a wake-up call going, yeah, if we had voice technology in place and would already be able to offer touchless services, we might have been better off through the pandemic. And of course, I agree that in times like this, it might be kind of hard to spend money on something where you're not sure what you will get out of it, because the whole ROI discussion is, of course, another important topic in the voice area. But most companies seem to at least kind of understand, yes, this is something we need to look at. We should try out something because we need to get ready for the future, and this is where it's heading. So yeah, it's kind of twofold between, can we invest money? Yes, we should. And we should be investing in that area.
Yeah, I mean, if I can offer from my side, it feels like with every technological curve, there's almost a kind of a fast growth at the beginning, a bit of a lull where people say, hang on, is this real? And then there's a kind of oh yes, this was real, you know.
Yeah.
And it feels a bit like we are, I mean, in the English-speaking world, we're somewhere between the first initial excitement and in the lull, and maybe past the lull, you know. But I guess there's a different adoption of that curve also in different language markets. Dr. Baothman, you know, where do you see the kind of real application of this technology for ordinary people, for customers, if you want to put it that way? You know, will voice be something that supports customer services? Will it be something that, you know, supports the media? Will it be something that, you know, where is the excitement? Where is the dynamism from where you're sitting?
Well, I think customer service involves marketing, sales, IT, data, or analytic, and much more. In customer service, bots and humans can engage in three ways. Bots start, for example, the conversation and transfer the customer to a person. Bots can help humans serve customers, or bots serve customers with human assistance. For example, by identifying customer requests and issuing tickets by directing them to the right agent. Biometric authentication for eliminating passwords. Call classification to match agent with customers. Call intent discovery to estimate customers' intent, satisfaction, and business metrics. Customer service response using bots functioning 24/7. Chatbots analytic to analyze all customer service activities and satisfaction. Surveys and review analytic to analyze open-ended text question in surveys. However, I think the best application in customer service are yet to come, since most companies focusing on customer service satisfaction only as marketing tool and not improving the customer experience and reducing customer complaint. And here where we should focus more when it comes to customer service. This is my own opinion, but of course.
And sorry, and why should we focus on that area? What is the reason for that?
The reason for that is to eliminate bad experience. I would give you some example. If we consider the airline, the credit cards, the e-stores, these are three important sectors. Millions of people have to deal with these industries. All the three industries have the power of strict regulations. They have their own challenges, and especially when you want to get your refund for any reason. What is happening to customers sometimes is not fair from my point of view, because you have to go through a long list of process, and you might not get the support or the fund during a certain period of time. For example, there are significant challenges that need to be improved. An e-store, for example, they rarely answer you back after the product leaves their warehouse. So if you have an issue to raise regarding this product, it's bad luck for you. For credit card, for you to get your refund back, it's almost impossible. Mm-hmm. So having a voice technology activated for customers, it will help, for example, to trace the complaint for the companies. It will, for example, keep an iterative reminder for example, for the management, telling them that the issue has not been resolved yet. Using trustable AI voice technology is what is really needed to solve several issues.
Listen, so now we're at that moment when we're coming towards the end of our time together. That moment where we all feel quite excited about the possibilities, I think, again. And I what you've just said is really, that's got me really kind of excited and interested in it. But if we can start maybe on that final note, culturally, socially, is the world going to accept that? I mean, like Alexa, for example, at least from the data that I've seen, people do a lot of things with Alexa, but they don't yet buy stuff. E-commerce is one of the hard bits to get people to trust voice assistants with, so where do we feel we're at? Do we, what are the sort of next challenges for the voice revolution to get from where it is today to this future that Dr. Baothman, you were talking about? Romina, can I go to you and then I'll come back to you, Dr. Baothman?
Yeah, I was just thinking about how to answer that question because it's such a big one, right? Like, how can we, what are the next challenges? And you're just so right. We might not be there yet, right? Because e-commerce works, or voice commerce is a topic that's still kind of not increasing as speedily as we would wish, I guess you could say. So I guess the question is, are we going to be patient enough in the industry and are we able to keep momentum, and do we allow users to get there? Because, we are kind of like moving forward fast because we are so convinced of the technology and we know what it currently can do and what it will be able to do in future. But we might need to give it a bit more time and also more improvement, right? I do believe that, especially, for example, the combination of smartphone and voice technology will definitely eventually have a boost, but it just takes until users actually adopt it and really use it, right? And I think it's on all of us to make sure there is not such frustrating experience right now to kind of spook away the user. So it's a big responsibility on all of us to create good and good experiences without frustration, to make sure users start using it more and more. But that's still a way to go for sure. Okay.
And Dr. Baothman, what do you think? Do you feel that people in the Middle East, people in the world, where are we in that adoption curve? What do you expect to see happening in the next year or 2 years?
I think it's going to move on, and it's going to progress more. What is actually needed is forming a group who are really interested and focusing on this technology and implementing it in smart cities, IoTs, and different things that will assist the different type of services we are going to witness in the future. And I believe that in the Middle East there will be enough movement toward this, since, especially in Saudi Arabia, since there is lots of research nowadays are being funded from different universities and different places to assist AI in general. And of course, it is one of the 2030 vision technology. AI is one of the 2030 vision technology that will be, of course, developed during the next decade. So this is, I believe it's important, and we are going in the right direction. But what is actually needed is to reshape the way of using different techniques and methods, especially for voice technology.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Baothman. I suppose my own final thought is one stat that kind of hit me quite hard recently was that whereas a third of homes in the UK have Alexa or another smart speaker, Google Assistant and Siri, actually that rises to almost 50% if you're talking about homes with young children. And then, I have one of them. He's still asleep in the other room. And growing up with voice assistants, and it feels to me like there's a naturalness with the technology that others who are older don't have. And I think that's sort of what happens with technology. I don't think we could have imagined all walking down the road and scrolling on our phones not very long ago. So it does feel to me like we're at the dawn of something here. And thank you so much for spending some time talking about it. So thank you, Romina Pankoke and Dr. Fatmah Baothman.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor to be with you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
That's right. Thank you so much, Mukul and our other panelists, Dr. Fatmah and Romina. Thank you very much for spending your time and sharing your knowledge and experience with us. We truly appreciate it. And of course, to all of our audience, if you'd like to interact with Mukul and the other speakers, they are, of course, available backstage in the networking areas. But to all of our panelists, thank you very much once again, and we'll connect with you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to head into a short networking break for about 5 or 10 minutes, and we will be back. And when we're back, we're going to be speaking about the various obstacles facing voice AI in the Middle East region, specifically surrounding the Arabic language. So all of this and more will be coming in the next 10 minutes or so. We look forward to seeing you after the break.